What's going on, GGEN? We are live, boys. Welcome to the Theater Room, episode 33. This is a kind of I feel like it's a little bit of a weird week. Going to be talking about a couple of sad announcements this week. Three of them, if we're really getting into it, but it's really two of them specifically, because Miss Marvel I don't consider a sad announcement like some of the other people online. But as you can see, I'm with my boys. We got Zuplex on this side. We got One Shot on this side. We're missing some of the GGEN crew.
Hey, yo.
We got these guys are wrestling experts, which will come into play, I think, tonight. You wouldn't call yourself an expert? You're not a big watcher of the wrestling entertainment?
I follow it. I just don't watch it. I'm gonna watch WrestleMania because I got to see Stone Cold.
Yeah, well, Stone Cold coming back definitely is something that would make me want to go back into it. But I haven't watched wrestling in a very long time.
I stopped watching after Attitude Era. Wasn't really into the Ruthless Aggression era, but
you probably aren't the only one. I stopped watching around then too. I mean, I loved it back in the day.
All the way through.
Do you watch? Is it WWE only, or do you go with AEW also?
I've been watching AEW. AEW's, in my opinion, right now they're doing really well, but I think they're headed for a massive collapse.
You think so?
Because there's no way they can keep this much talent on with what they're doing. We picked up everybody that WWE's released.
I did see, so I kind of keep up with it. Steve, or One Shot, I'm a lot like you. I don't watch it. I do follow it, though. I still read a lot of articles about it. I catch a lot of the highlights whenever the big events happen on TikTok or on Reddit and all that stuff. And to your point, Carmine, I did see, I feel like fairly recently, AEW, went on like a spree of just picking up all these guys, former WWE guys and stuff. Really?
They've been doing it since they started. Yeah, started off with, picking up, Cody Rhodes and Jericho and those guys and all the guys that came over from New Japan, your Kenny Omegas, your all those your Adam Page.
Well, didn't they
New Japan?
Didn't they acquire New Japan?
So yeah, I believe they just acquired New Japan recently, but.
And I know WWE, didn't they recently just fire so many people? WWE fired a ton of people recently, right? A few months ago?
Been doing it for months. They've just been shit canning half their roster because they couldn't afford to keep everybody else on. They took a bath in COVID.
Right.
Everybody forgets that WWE's live sales are a huge number.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it is a business, right? They need to make money. Like
when
everything
you have
else.
WrestleMania, which you're looking at over 100,000 people come to that event every year.
Right.
You have two WrestleManias in a row with no one there.
That's true. Take a hit. Hasn't it bounced back though? I feel like when I see the highlights now, the stadium is completely sold out. It looks like.
Yeah, it's bounced back now, but you got to figure they took a hit when people's contracts are up. How are you going to re-sign people?
Yeah, it's not really bounced back because there's videos online of people showing where they drop a curtain.
Oh, really? To kind of block the empty seats and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of that was from during the middle of COVID too, though. So, now, most recently, all the stuff, Raw and SmackDown, they've been pretty much sold out arenas. Point, and I'm sure they're going to bounce back fully at some point, but right now they had to release a whole buttload of people.
Right. I mean, you got to do what you got to do, right?
I mean, they got the Hardy Boys back together, or the Hardys, since they can't claim the Hardy Boys.
Right. I think they can.
No, they haven't been. They've got them labeled as the Hardys when they come out.
Yeah, but Jeff's got his music. Somehow walked away with that, which is crazy.
He got his music, but they won't let him have the Hardy Boys label.
Okay.
Just as kind of an easy segue, the reason we even started talking about wrestling is because we got some pretty sad news this week. Scott Hall, Razor Ramon himself, has passed away at 63 years old due to it was complications from surgery that just turned into heart attacks and stuff. And I just want to give a toast. I have memories of him when I was growing up, when I was really knee deep in all this stuff, playing as him in the WWE games. And it's sad to see him go. I hear nothing but good things about him behind the scenes. So that's a big loss for the community. It's funny, actually.
Here's to the bad guy.
Here's to the bad guy. That's right. I see you got the toothpick going.
Do
I feel like
yo.
so it's funny. The first thought that came into my head, which I don't know if it's the greatest thought when it comes to remembering somebody, but I remember Razor Ramon was the first time. I think they call it K-fob, right, in wrestling, where I kind of like, you know, as a young kid, basically I was like a young teen, realizing that wrestling was staged and was kind of more of like an acting job. Specifically, when Razor Ramon or Scott Hall goes to WCW and WWE or Vince McMahon tried to basically just recast the character, and I'll never forget the first time Razor Ramon came back out, and I was like, "Who the fuck is that? That's not Razor Ramon. What are they doing?" Like, and I remember I was blown away. Like, what do they think I'm not gonna notice? You know? And then now, all these years later, obviously they don't even try to hide it anymore. But that was the first thought, the first memory I had. Yeah, there's tons of documentaries. What are some of the memories? What are like some of your favorite moments with Razor Ramon?
It's got to be the ladder
sorry,
match.
Scott Hall, not Razor Ramon.
That'd be the ladder match
Against who?
Him and Shawn for the IC title at WrestleMania. It's probably the second greatest ladder match of all time. The reason it's not number one is because TLC happened.
Right, right.
Which is probably the most insane ladder match I've ever seen in my life. But Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon for the IC title is an insane ladder match.
That was one of the first ladder matches, right? Wasn't that like it wasn't like as common as it is now? That when he pulled that match out.
I don't know if it was the first one, but it was definitely.
What about you, One Shot? What's something you remember when from Scott Hall's days in wrestling?
His Wolfpack days, always.
What was it? Oh. Was it this? Was this their symbol?
Yeah.
The little thing. I remember those days, man. That was when wrestling was like at its peak, dude. I would get so into it. NWO would come out with Hollywood Hogan. I still remember when he turned heel and just joined them.
I still hate him.
Oh, I don't blame you. I hated him back then too.
Hulking up is one of the worst things I think I've ever seen.
Real quick, Legend Shimsham, if I'm reading that right, just commented in the chat. It looks like he's a first-time commenter. So thanks for jumping in. Thanks for commenting. Feel free to jump in as much as you want. We like the feedback. We like the community interactions like that. So I have a bunch of videos, but I have a little highlight video. You guys can't see it right now. You'll see it on the YouTube replay. But his finisher with the Razor's Edge, I think it was called, for the longest time was my favorite. Was my absolute favorite move. It was my go-to move in the WWE and WCW games on the Nintendo 64 because it would knock out players, which I always like to do. I think the worst part.
So instrumental. A lot of people so instrumental in putting together these different groups and everything like that. Even though he wasn't in DX, he was instrumental in DX happening.
Absolutely.
I mean, without him and Kevin Nash, we don't have the Monday Night Wars.
Right.
Them leaving the WWE and going to WCW created the Monday Night War. That was the first shot. They took the title, they threw it in the garbage. They were doing all types of crazy stuff.
I remember that speech he gave. You know why I'm here. Like, he didn't like name any names, but he just made it clear that this was like like shots fired.
Yeah. Made it clear it was shots fired. They crossed the picket line first. Crossed the line to the bad guy.
That really did. I mean, if it wasn't for NWO, we wouldn't have gotten DX. That wouldn't have. It just wouldn't have happened. I don't know. I don't know that Vince McMahon was smart enough to think of something like that, or his writing team or whatever, until Kevin Nash and Scott Hall did it, and then all of a sudden it was like, wait, let's just adopt that for our style.
I think a lot of it. There's a few documentaries on this and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, X-Pac, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels. All a group called the Clique.
Right.
Early on, before all this was stuff, and it was more of like a behind-the-scenes group than it was anything else. But Triple H and Shawn Michaels, they came up with DX because Scott and Kevin went over to WCW. So everything influences each other. So it all really so instrumental in blowing up wrestling to the point that it was in the 90s that it's insane. All those guys.
You definitely see a lot of today I was reading a lot of just behind the scenes stuff with Scott Hall, and how much he kind of helped a lot of other people kind of, what do they call it, where he helped people kind of go big or get bigger. He helped their popularity. He came up with ideas. Apparently he came up with Sting's makeup idea, which is just like, it's like those little tidbits that I wish they kind of gave you before he passed, so he can receive that credit a little bit. But it's nice to hear that stuff now. I feel like the hardest
old
part.
guard too.
Oh yeah.
Guys that were really, they always, any guys from that era, the business sacred to them. They didn't.
Oh yeah.
Don't talk about what was going on behind the scenes. You didn't talk about all that. You weren't. It was fab everything. Like everything stayed secret. There's a reason that Undertaker didn't start signing autographs until he retired.
That's true. That's a good point.
He was so protective of his character. And that's how those guys were. So that's why when you don't usually hear about these stories of these guys being great guys or being, so instrumental in like the background of the business until they either retire for good, or die, unfortunately.
I guess it's like the nature of the business, right? Sorry, go ahead, one shot.
He was part of the curtain call incident, wasn't he? Him, Nash.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, that was where I guess it was like their last match, right, in WWE, and they all kind of hugged and essentially gave themselves a send off, even though they weren't supposed to technically.
And Vince was tight. That's actually, we don't get Stone Cold Steve Austin unless that happens,
right?
Because that's Triple H's push.
Hunter was supposed to win the King of the Ring that year. Instead, Vince was so mad at him for the curtain call. He kicked him out of the King of the Ring, wouldn't let him win it, gave it to Stone Cold, and that's where we got Austin 316 said, "I just whooped your ass."
It's funny,
the infamous King of the Ring Stone Cold speech.
It's just funny all the things you hear about Vince McMahon and how all the decisions that he was against that ended up working out for the company, and now he'll take credit for all of it. It's just like, it's just crazy. I'm watching some of these highlights here.
He was a pretty petty dude back in the day.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Scott Hall was very instrumental in all this stuff.
Were you gonna say one shot?
I said he still pisses him off.
Yeah, he still finds a way. I honestly feel like one of the hardest things to see and read right now with his death. I mean, obviously his death sucks. 63 is not that old. My father passed away before then. It's just 63 is not an old number to be passing away at. But one of the hardest things is seeing Kevin Nash and the comments he's making, and just you can just see the sadness, and feel the closeness of the two of them. So it's tough seeing them go through that. Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. I kind of feel like without DDP pulling Scott in, he probably would have passed sooner.
I can see that. I mean, DDP, right? He's done a lot to help these wrestlers with just kind of maintaining some sort of health. As they get older.
Take the Snake living with him.
Yeah, DDP is another good guy.
And everything like that.
It's crazy to see, just to think about when I was younger, how different wrestling is now. I mean, like I said, I don't really watch it much anymore. I've tried to watch, and it's just too. It's almost too. I hate to use the word fake because I know that's a big faux pas in the wrestling world, but it's just too like soap opera-ish. And when I was growing up, maybe it was because I was younger, I remember feeling that the NWO, DX, the whole nine, that was like, it was almost like this was really happening. These feelings were real. They hated each other. People wanted to really go at it, and you just don't get that now. It all feels like an act, But again, I don't watch much, so
storylines. Currently going into WrestleMania, there's not a lot of great storylines. If John was here, he'd be following Roman Reigns from here to Kingdom Come because Roman Reigns is the greatest of all time. Acknowledge me and all this other bull crap. Storyline right now they've been doing over the past 2 years. Storyline where he started with the Usos, his cousins, and he's the Rock's cousin. He's saying he's the head of the table and all this other stuff. Right. At the end of the day, it's like we're going into WrestleMania and he's fighting Brock Lesnar for the 500th time, and that storyline only pays off if you get The Rock to come back and fight him.
Right. Real quick, Rampy26, thanks for commenting. By the way, said Razor Ramon was the ultimate heel in WWE history. I can see that. he was the first heel that I feel like I really was rooting for. The first, the bad guy, for lack of a better term.
First heel.
This is random.
Iron Sheik and Vladimir Kozlov probably beat him to that.
Well, he said he was the ultimate heel.
Definitely one of the greatest heels.
Let me real quick. Hey, Carmine, you're gonna like this. My Twitter. I don't know if you can see it.
You can't really see, no.
I'll send it in group chat. DDP follows me.
Does he?
Oh,
yo, let's interview him. Let's get him on here. We can talk to him. Send him a DM, man.
I'll screenshot this right now.
Honestly, if you can get him to come on to our podcast and let us just kind of pick his brain, I would probably lose my shit.
Talk about DDP yoga all day, man.
Hell yeah.
Have you tried that shit? It's rough.
Oh, I've been thinking about doing it, though.
I have not. Listen, I used to stretch every time I played hockey, so I used to be pretty flexible. But after I put on over 100 lbs, I don't know that I could stretch like that anymore. I have to start from scratch.
He's been an interesting cat, man, because he's been doing all this stuff. Oh man, follows him. He's been doing all this stuff to help out all these guys, especially with addiction and stuff like that. Like Jake the Snake Roberts. I saw he was tweeting out a bunch of stuff about Scott passing also.
Yep.
They were all in this like DDP yoga, like clean living, like getting their lives back on track and everything. That's why it's such a shame, man. It really is.
It is. This is some mistakes you can't come back from. I saw someone with Scott Hall recently doing an interview somewhere, and you could just see he just didn't look great. He clearly struggling a little bit. So, yeah.
Did you guys ever watch Epic Mealtime?
No, I never did.
You know what it is, though? With Harley Morenstein?
I've heard of it, but I never watched it.
That dude follows me, too.
I mean, look at you. Look at you with these high-end connections over here.
When did One Shot become like this, like, celebrity, bro?
You got to be our celebrity guest caster, however you word it.
I've talked to Steve on Twitter before.
Really?
Yeah, it was awesome.
So going from Scott Hall to another kind of sad announcement. We'll get the sad ones out of the way. We have to kind of raise another toast to kind of a Hollywood mainstay. This guy's been in so many movies, a lot of bit characters, but he was always a great actor. William Hurt, he passed away. I know he was a little older, but that's a big loss for Hollywood for sure. Let's see if I can get an image for him. For anyone who's listening, who jumps in later, if you want to remember where he's from and why it's almost like a major deal now. He was a big part of Marvel, and it looked like he was going to be a big part of the MCU going forward. He played General Thunderbolt Ross in The Incredible Hulk. He played it in Captain America: Civil War. He was in Black Widow, and he was primed to kind of start showing up in a lot of different stuff going forward. Historically in the comic books, his character becomes Red Hulk. He's got a very deep history with Blonsky, the Abomination, with the Hulk. So, I don't know what the plans were that Marvel had, but this has got to put a little bit of a capper in their plans, I guess. You know what I mean? I just want to pull up a video of him real quick.
One of the things I will say is that when I saw him most recently in Black Widow, looked like he had lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Looked like he wasn't doing too great. So I say,
what's up, Mr. Buttersworth? Sorry.
What's up, Buttersworth?
Seems like the writing on the wall. He's a bit older. He lost a lot of weight. I'm sure there was something going on with him. Fortunately, we lost him. I think he's a great actor.
Fantastic actor for sure. I mean, it's funny you say that about Black Widow. The Marvel machine has me thinking a certain way. So when I saw Black Widow in theaters, I remember he did look kind of sickly in that movie. But in my mind, that was Marvel making him look that way because they wanted to set up him having some sort of cancer, which is what led to him being Red Hulk. I
thought maybe the same thing.
Yeah. And who knows? Maybe that was part of it. Maybe they made him look worse than he did or whatever. But,
that was a what's it called? It was a actual theory,
right,
that they made him look that way because they want him to take some sort of serum, become the Red Hulk,
right?
This other stuff.
Yeah, so I want to say, for me personally, the movie that I think I liked him the most in was a movie called A History of Violence with
Yes.
Viggo Mortenstein, as Max says on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. My friends and I will randomly, when someone makes a mistake, we just go, "How did you fuck that up?" Doing our own little impression of William Hurt. He was great in that movie. He was in it for a little bit towards the end. Spoiler alert for that movie. But he's been in a lot of
He's
different
amazing
things.
in that.
A lot of different things. And then most recently, obviously, the Marvel stuff.
A History of Violence. I mean, and that's also based off of a graphic novel, History of Violence.
Right.
Loved him in that. There's an older movie. I'm trying to remember the name of it now. He was in that. He was just so good.
He's great in everything he's been in. I don't know that he's done one movie where he had a bad performance.
Nah, he's done a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. He was one of those guys that, like, especially in the mid to late 90s, he was doing a lot of different like bit parts and stuff that. He was always a guy that, like, consummate professional, showed up, did Kiss of the Spider Woman.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was thinking of. He was great in that. The Big Chill, he was great in that.
Yep. Buttersworth just said he mentioned broadcast news, and then he said, "Yes, I'm that old." That's not old. That's not old. You just remember. You have a good memory for these things. He was good in that though too. I mean, like I said, I think his whole career. I don't know that anyone's gonna ever be able to say that he had a bad performance or he was in a bad movie. He never really made it as like the A-level kind of franchise player, but he was consistently a working actor, and that's honestly, as an actor, from what I understand, that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of these working actors, even what he was doing with within the MCU and everything like that, and like going forward, the MCU, this is going to be the main problem with the MCU going forward, is that we're already on like what 20 years almost movies.
Yeah, I mean, we are. The Infinity Saga was 10 years, 11 years I think total. And then with COVID and stuff now, we're about 15 years.
The first Iron
total,
Man
maybe?
was what,
2008, I thought.
2008. Oh, we're looking at 15 years at this point. So that
15 years, man. Think about what you just said. This is, as nerds growing up, I don't know about you guys, I can only speak for myself, but I was the type of a kid growing up where I didn't really care. So, if people wanted to go out and play football or whatever, I would go out with them. Sometimes I'd be like, I want to play video games. I want to play X-Men on Genesis. I don't really want to deal with you guys. I didn't have FOMO. I didn't care if, I was being made fun of. It was like, whatever, this is what I could do. I don't really give a shit. Never cared. I never in my life thought that we would get to a point where we weren't just getting comic book movies consistently, but a full shared universe of consistently high quality comic book movies. I mean, there's really not there are some stinkers as far as MCU movies are concerned, but even the worst MCU movie, and I'm looking at you, Thor: The Dark World, is better than a lot of other movies out there. What do you give me that look for, one shot?
I was agreeing.
Oh, okay.
That was
worse than Black Widow?
See, Black Widow, I don't think was bad, but Black Widow came out at the wrong time.
I didn't mind.
Black Widow 100% should have been a Phase 1, maybe an early Phase 2 movie. But by the time it came out, it didn't matter. We knew enough about Natasha that we didn't need a backstory. So it was just a bad timing thing. Listen, Scarlett Johansson deserved her own movie for that role, for sure. But Marvel, again, this isn't this isn't Feige's fault, right? He was probably pushing for it. This was Iger's fault. But she should have been a part of the Phase 1 movies 100%. She'd have gotten her own style, her own origin story for sure.
I 100% agree with it. So going forward, William Hurt passing, unfortunately. A lot of theories about them bringing Thunderbolts in, Red Hulk, all that stuff. They still do that.
So this is a good question, right? Because we have the capabilities now to bring back these actors. We did it in Star Wars Rogue One with Tarkin. We've done it with a young Robert Downey Jr. We did it with a young Samuel Jackson. We could bring back We can have a body double come in there and just do a full performance for William Hurt, especially considering that for a good chunk of the movie you can make him Red Hulk, and you don't really need his physical appearance there. You just need his voice. So, but now ethically, is that
You don't even
worth
need
doing?
a voice. You can make it a different voice too.
Right? Yeah, you alter the voice. I mean, he turns into a big giant Hulk. Mark Ruffalo doesn't sound the same when he's doing the Hulk voice. Real quick, Mr. Buttersworth says the Dark World was better than Wonder Woman 84 by far. Well, that's definitely, again, that's exactly to my point. The worst movie in the MCU, which in my opinion is probably Thor: The Dark World, is better than a lot of other movies out there, including what some consider to be one of DC's best. It blows my mind, but Wonder Woman 84.
No one considers Wonder Woman 84 DC's best.
I've gotten into fights with people telling me that it's actually an entertaining movie. I don't get it. I don't get it.
First Wonder Woman was amazing, but
see, I even thought the first one was slow. But what's up, One Shot?
So I haven't watched either of them.
Listen, you can't comment on any of this, big dog.
Yeah, the first one was slow, but it was good. It just was slow. One day we're gonna have to do a One Shot's gonna have to do a Marvel movie marathon or even a DCEU marathon. Record your reaction to all these movies and put together a little highlight reel.
I watched a bunch of them. I didn't watch Captain Marvel.
So Captain Marvel is definitely down there. It's definitely down there. I thought it was better than The Dark World, but not by much.
Near the bottom.
Not by much. And you know what? A lot of people want to blame Brie Larson. I don't really blame her. I think it was more that the story really didn't matter. We didn't need to see, where the Tesseract was. We didn't learn anything new about what was going on. It came right before Avengers in Endgame. And, what did we need that for? Just to introduce her before the movie? They should have just left it alone, let her be introduced in Endgame, give us whatever the sequel's going to be, give us that as her first movie.
Cut her completely out of Endgame and give us Nova instead.
Which would have been, honestly, they set that up already with Guardians of the Galaxy. So I don't, it kind of screams to me that they wanted a female-led hero. Right.
Set it up in Endgame when they talk about that Thanos destroyed planet that's escaping my mind right now. Nova Corps.
The Nova Corps. No, it was
I can't remember the name of it.
I can't think of the name of it either. Buttersworth just threw out there that Robert De Niro should take over as Thunderbolt Ross in the MCU. I could see that, but isn't Robert De Niro in the camp of the MCU is not cinema? Isn't he one of those guys? I know it's Scorsese, but I thought De Niro kind of agreed with him and basically was like, yeah, I don't really see the point.
Yeah, these guys, as much as I love Scorsese and De Niro, when they start saying stuff like that, it's just I saw an interview with Scorsese after that he was doing a roundtable for, I think, Entertainment Weekly or something like that with a bunch of directors. And he expanded on it, and he was just he goes, I was trying to explain was that it's not cinema as much as it is like a roller coaster ride. They're meant to be fun.
Yeah, I remember him saying that.
Which, I mean, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong, but I feel like it's such a disrespectful thing to say it's not cinema. I mean, you have more people working on the movie than some of his movies,
The way he said it was disrespectful. And there's some comic book movies that I think transcend into that cinema. Winter Soldier's one of them.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think The Joker's one of them. Dark Knight.
I do think, though, that when you're talking about the MCU, it's hard to really just pick and pull one movie here and there and say this one's cinema, this one's not, because as a whole, they've done something that studios have tried in the past and never even came close to accomplishing.
Think of it. It's like a 125-hour movie.
That's my point, though. And not only is it a 125-hour movie, but it's like a 125-hour movie that fans are still, after all these years, rushing to the theaters to see. Spider-Man No Way Home just did over $1 billion based on the fact that they brought back one of what people thought were the worst Spider-Man movies, and Tobey Maguire, who everyone thought was kind of, he was over it at this point. Just based off of that alone, Marvel got everyone excited and did over $1 billion. So.
But it's still, with the passing of William Hurt.
Xandar. Thank you, Buttersworth. Xandar is the planet.
Xandar. Yeah. Oh my God, that was bothering the hell out of me. Thank you, Buttersworth. With the passing of William Hurt, and because we've already lost Chadwick Boseman, they're on a time constraint at this point.
Yeah.
As far as we know we have Marvel movies slated for the next 10 years, basically. Still,
Right.
These actors start, unfortunately, leaving us or being able to. No.
Well, I guess that's why Feige doesn't want to do the long contracts anymore. So he wants to kind of keep it fluid, you know. I do think, though, the good thing about Feige and specifically, and then just the way they're kind of handling all of the movies right now, is that they're setting everything up where they could very easily change the rosters. You know what I mean? So let's say they were doing the Thunderbolts. You know, unfortunately, William Hurt passing, that looks like it's less likely. But there's no reason why they can't quickly pivot that into a different group. That most of it is already set up, and they can just kind of slide it into that group instead. You know, doesn't mean instead of the Thunderbolts, maybe it's the.
I agree with that, but does that mean Red Hulk's off limits?
See, but no, I would say no, because it's all CG, right? You can, you know, maybe skip the origin part of Red Hulk and stick with just the big red version, and you could just kind of verbally tell us, like, you know, you almost have like a cue where maybe Bruce Banner realizes who it is, or, you know, there's ways around it. And I, you know, I have a credit where credit's due. I have all the faith in the world that Feige and the brain trusted MCU and all that stuff will figure out a way to do it, and they'll do it right, do it justice.
I mean, hopefully, I agree with you that we got to give them the benefit of the doubt, because they haven't really proven us wrong anywhere along the line. One of the things is, I think that what's going to be a big indicator on how they handle these type of situations is going to be Wakanda Forever.
Yes.
I'm hearing that there's nothing but problems with that movie.
Yeah, but the problems there stem from one specific person. And it's Latita Wright or whatever her name is, however you say her name. I'm probably butchering it.
Shuri.
Yeah, Shuri. No, you know, it sounds like a lot of it is coming from her. And I, you know, listen, I'm not going to get political. I'm not saying if I'm for or against her opinions or her views. Yeah. But it does seem like a lot of the issues, that, especially the last, like, say, year, have kind of stemmed from her specifically. What's up, Scythe? I see you jumped into the chat. Thanks for jumping in. And what do you say? What do you think of the new Green Lantern show coming to Disney Plus? I know you're talking about Miss Marvel. We're gonna get that queued up. We're gonna do a live reaction for you guys in a second. So sorry. Go ahead, Zuplex.
But I think that still shows us an indication of, you know, what can happen. Because, like, all right, we lose Chadwick, unfortunately, timely passing. Guy was an absolute masterful actor.
Yeah, 100%.
In everything, 100%. In everything he did. I'm not even talking about just Black Panther, but for MCU purposes, now you've lost your Black Panther. You have already set up that Shuri's in the MCU, right? The next logical, as far as comic book history is concerned, is going to Shuri to be the new Black Panther, and you find out that she's not that great of an actress.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Now you have issues. It's like we rewrite it. We have to come in a new direction. Like, all I'm saying is, you know, at some point, this Marvel juggernaut is going to start hitting some bad beats.
Well, yeah, you know, it's inevitable, right? They've been basically like this since they started. At some point, that's got to come down.
Someone's got to swing the other way at some point, you know. I'm hoping that they could just keep the ship in the right.
A lot of people expected it to be Endgame. A lot of people didn't expect the Infinity War and Endgame to turn out as good as they did, and they honestly exceeded our expectations. To be honest,
I think one of the biggest things after Endgame that is going their way is the fact that they have Disney Plus and they have a platform where they could do shows on.
You think it's getting in their way? Is that what you said?
No,
going their way.
Right. Is that they have Disney Plus, they have a platform that they can do shows on, and now they can bring us different types of content a new way. Because, like, really, what are we in phase 5, phase 6 at this point? I don't even know what phase we're in.
We're still in phase 4. We're still phase 4.
In phase 4?
Yeah.
Really? So phase 4.
You sound so offended.
I mean, it's just I don't know what weren't
they?
Phases to me were always kind of stupid. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I like that. I like calling Phase 1, 2, 3. Like I like calling that the Infinity Saga. So in my mind, it's like instead of doing the phases, let's just call it the Infinity Saga. Or I guess to make it easier, that's why they say Phase 3 or whatever, the Infinity Saga. I don't know. Like I feel like right now we're in such a building period, introducing new heroes, kind of setting up brand new storylines that are not going to pay off for 10 years from now. That we shouldn't even call this Phase 4. This should just kind of let it kind of be the limbo right now of the MCU. Give us all the movies. We all know that they connect. And then once you say like, all right, now we're full blown Phase 4, that should be like kind of full swing. Now we're moving towards something, which I don't feel like we're doing that at the moment. It's like 3 or 4 movies are moving towards one thing, 3 or 4 movies are moving toward another thing. Like for example, like Loki and Ant-Man are clearly moving towards Kang. Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, we're moving towards like a Scarlet Witch kind of showdown. Everything's moving in one direction, in different directions. And I feel like once they start calling it a phase again, it should kind of be everything coming together for one, forward momentum, similar to Thanos and all that stuff.
I agree that we just shouldn't call it a phase anything. It should just be like, listen, this is the rebuilding phase. Let's call it.
We got Buttersworth says Thunderbolts will be a minor setback until they find a replacement. Thunderbolts. Yeah, well, they haven't announced that movie, right? Did they announce Thunderbolts? I don't think so.
They announced...
Or they may have announced it, actually, but they can always kind of reschedule.
They announced something that it was in pre-production.
Right,
like they were writing screenplays.
I think it was for Disney Plus, yeah.
It's the same type of announcement that we got for, like, World War Hulk and Hulk versus Wolverine. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, they could go this way. Like, my thing is this. Everything that they've done in Phase 4 so far hasn't really missed.
Right. It hasn't. Even Eternals. People can say what they want about Eternals, but it was not a bad movie. It was kind of a misfire in certain ideas they had, but it was not a bad movie.
A lot of what we're getting right now is, as you said, like stepping stones.
Yeah.
Next, forward to like whatever we're heading towards. But like the Disney Plus shows that they've given us so far haven't really missed. Some are better than others, but like WandaVision, pretty good. Mm-hmm. Thought it ended strong, started slow.
Right, I agree.
Captain America, Winter Soldier, I loved. I thought it was really good from start to finish. I mean, I didn't really have a lot of problems with that one.
See, I would say that started strong, ended slow.
Yeah, I mean, but that last episode.
What's up, One Shot?
I'm reading the chat, and we got a first-time chatter that says, "Does the guy on the left ever talk?"
Does the guy on the left ever talk?
I never get the opportunity. The last podcast we did, I said 5 fucking words.
Well, first of all, let's talk
the movie that we were reviewing.
First of all, let's just talk about this chatter's name. Excellent name. Super Nintendo 64, phenomenal name. So you win the chat with that name.
I know who that is too, by the way. Love you, dog. But you can't get a word in with these motherfuckers.
We tend to talk. Steve's got to just kind of jump in, man. Just jump in. I keep throwing it to you. Real quick, just to catch up on the chat real quick. We got Buttersworth said that he's excited for Deadpool 3, which I know we got a director for now. It's 100% moving forward. I'm excited for that too.
I'm worried.
I'm worried about it. That's what I was just going to say. I'm excited, but I'm worried.
Why are you worried?
Do you really think so? Here's the thing. If Deadpool 3 is full-blown a part of the MCU, like officially a Phase 4 MCU movie, there's no way they're going to go with the hard R humor that they've gone with the first two. And that is a big part of the character.
What makes me think they will?
We don't let One Shot talk. Let him talk now. Go ahead, One Shot.
I said why wouldn't they do it? Why would they not? It's so successful. Why would they not?
I don't. But then I think I agree. I think they're going to go full blown hard R, but I don't think it's going to really be a major part of the MCU then, which is not a bad thing. Not everything needs to be a part of the shared universe. It could be its own thing, its own dimension, whatever. But I'm very excited to see how they interact with some of the characters that we've already kind of grown to know.
The thing is that. So, with the introduction of the Netflix shows to Disney Plus, mature content is now on Disney Plus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it will be by the end of this week. Already seen backlash for that from a bunch of parent groups, which makes no sense whatsoever because all you have to do is put a parental filter on there and it solves all the problems.
But like everything else, parents don't actually want to do their job. They expect other people to do it for them.
Yeah, exactly. Just put a parental filter on it, make a mature content section, whatever it is, right? Regardless of all of that.
That's this Friday, by the way.
It's this Friday it comes out.
Hey, Lon 3 Wolf just asked, "What's my name?"
Lon 3 Wolf.
Lon 3 Wolf. What's up, man? Thanks for joining the chat. Wait, ScytheX. Let's see. ScytheX said that Strange will lock down a path and maybe even Ant-Man. I do think that once we get past Ant-Man and Kang is either dealt with or whatever happens, we're going to be on a kind of a much clearer kind of path forward for sure.
I agree with that. What I was going back to is that if that introduction of the Netflix shows coming to Disney Plus, showing that Feige's not afraid to go the mature content route, Deadpool and Deadpool 2 are the highest grossing R-rated movies of all time. Right? So it's a proven record that have with these movies that they're Logan's another one. So studios are starting to see listen, there's money to be made. It doesn't have to be just for kids. It still make money doing an R-rated version of it. It helps that Deadpool didn't cost a lot. It was like a $50 million budget. That's a big win. Whereas, especially the first one, the first Deadpool movie, I think was a $30 million budget. It made it made $590 million worldwide or something crazy like that. So it's a proven track record that it's like Steve was saying, it's a proven track record that it's going to work. So why wouldn't they?
Right.
Now, you have a lot of backlash coming from the parental groups right now. I think they have to figure out a way to make them happy so that they can still turn around and be like, but we're still Disney. But I think this is something that Feige's had in his back pocket for a long time.
Right. And he's not a dummy. He knows what he's doing. And in the end, like we said
People
before,
are worried about Deadpool
business,
3 because of the director that they chose.
Yeah, but Ryan Reynolds, the thing that keeps me from being that worried about it overall is that Ryan Reynolds is still heavily involved. And I'm sure whatever contract he signed or whatever amendments were made once Disney bought Fox, he made sure that he had basically the last say in what happens with the character as far as the movie's concerned. And I mean, I think that he fought so hard for this character and he's such a big star right now. There's no way he didn't basically say, "Look, I get final say. If we can't do it my way, then we can't do it." So in the end, I think we're going to be all right.
With this director before, so the director is not going to, I don't think, implement this is my vision for Deadpool.
Right. So they have a relationship. They did Free Guy together.
Have a relationship, which is good.
Free Guy was an entertaining movie. If you didn't watch it yet, it was not a bad.
All
right.
It was all right. It wasn't to write home about it. I haven't watched Adam Project yet.
That's great. Actually, my wife who hates sci-fi fantasy, she does not like anything that I love. I put it on because she's a Ryan Reynolds fan, and within minutes she was like, "Oh, we can leave it on. I'm interested." She watched the entire thing, and she doesn't make it through any movie in one sitting. She watched the entire thing, and in the end, she was like, "That was actually very, very good." So that's a resounding endorsement for the movie.
And the kid that plays him in that movie did the whole Deadpool.
Yes, I saw that.
Monologue.
I've been seeing him do that.
He's great in that movie too. Real quick, we got ScytheX says, "I think Deadpool 3 will be fine for a rated R, but I'm more worried as the third movie in general, which is very hit or miss." And then Buttersworth said, "If that was the case, Ryan Reynolds would never sign on as Deadpool. He said it himself. If they soften the movie, he will walk." That's very true. Lone Wolf, I said it right. Lone Wolf, is the Halo series a bop or a flop? We're gonna get there, actually. But first, before we get to Halo, you guys, I sent you the link to Miss Marvel. You guys haven't watched it yet. Can you cue it up and we'll play it right now. We'll do a live reaction right now. Let me know when you have it up, and we're going to
all right,
hit play at the same time. Let me get the video up here. Let me make sure everyone can see the video so it doesn't look weird. Ready? I'm going to count down from 3. When I say 1, just hit the button, okay? 3, 2, 1. So if you guys who's watching in the chat, if you didn't see the trailer starting right now, and yes, Scythe, it will fuck up the cameras. I haven't figured that out yet.
I get it.
You get what?
High school.
Kamala.
Rampy Deadpool 3 should be Reynolds or Deadpool and Wolverine talking trash. The directors did say he wants to get Hugh Jackman onto the screen with Ryan Reynolds. He said if anyone does it, it's going to be him.
You're staring out the window in your little fantasy land.
Lone Wolf, you're welcome, buddy.
Kamala, hey, already? Really? Come on, like.
Do I have to figure out my
Super Nintendo 64. I would have to direct you for our thoughts on the Batman to the Theater Room episode 32. It's on YouTube, and you'll hear 2 hours of us yelling at each other about it.
I can tell you everything you need to know about the Batman. Go see it. It's amazing.
I would love to know his opinion on it.
Sorry, one shot. You're breaking up a little bit. Say it again.
Said I would love to.
Why are you breaking up? I can't even hear you. Can anybody hear him in the chat? Let me know.
It's breaking up for me too.
What about now?
Nah, you good.
What does it feel like?
All right. Apparently, I can't play videos while talking on here. I said I would love to know his opinion on the Batman.
Okay. Super Nintendo, when you get a chance, let us know what you thought of the Batman.
He's gonna fight you. It's Tim Tendo. Tim.
What is it?
Tim.
Oh, Tim Tendo. Listen, I don't have my glasses on. I'm sorry. Super Tim Tendo.
Fucking horrible.
Worse.
Like Lon Wolf. You
Lon
can't.
Wolf and Nintendo.
I don't have my glasses on.
That.
Tim Tendo. The text is small. All right, we're turning that off. What do you guys think of the trailer?
I think it's good.
I gotta finish it. Hold on.
Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead, finish
All right.
it. Finish it up. While he's watching it, Zuplex, you and I can just talk about it, and then we can get it out of our systems and let him talk. What'd you think?
I think it's a good trailer. The music that they decided to go with, little weekend type of action. You know?
Yeah, it's got a very Spider-Man Homecoming vibe to it.
I was gonna say that it's got a very like teen movie, teen show.
Yeah.
A vibe to it, which Spider-Man Homecoming really had, especially like the first trailer that we got for that.
That makes sense for the character too, because she's a teen who's an Avengers fan.
It's a lot of sense for the character. As far as them changing her powers,
see, I don't hate the change of the powers. What you got? You finished it, Steve?
Yeah, I finished it.
What'd you
Continue.
think?
Continue.
Okay, good.
Yeah, let him finish.
Want to talk.
Well, all right. You're not a big fan of them changing the powers. I will say that I'm not very familiar with the Kamala Khan character in the comics. I understand she's got the stretchy powers. I played a little bit of the Avengers video game. For me, the stretchy powers belong to Mr. Fantastic. I'm not a big fan of those powers anyway. I don't want multiple heroes with that, and we know the Fantastic Four is coming. So I'm more than okay with them changing the powers. I feel like it's nice.
It looks like they didn't change it that much.
Well, it's pretty clear that it seems to me it's pretty clear that it's kind of like Green Lantern. She can build constructs out of whatever that cosmic energy is, and she uses it to make the big fists and all that stuff. So I'm all for that. And if they could show us what a Green Lantern movie could look like, I'm all for that too, because I'm a big fan of Green Lantern, and so far we ain't got it in the DC side. So let Marvel kind of be like, look guys, this is how you do it.
Assuming that the reason why they go ahead, Steve.
The only thing I liked about that trailer was the song.
See, I don't hate the different style. I don't hate the bubbles popping up. I wonder if that's just for the trailer or going to be in the show. I feel like if they lean into that campy side of it, which I feel like they should with that kind of character, it'll kind of hit all the right spots.
Character, it makes sense. Right? She's the ultimate fangirl. Winds up finding out that she's an Inhuman and has these powers. Right? But before that, she was a huge fan of Captain Marvel. Like she's like, it would be like if any of us got superpowers one day.
Right.
The Avengers were real and we idolized them. It's similar to Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, realizing Hawkeye growing up and then realizing that she can training herself to do what Hawkeye does.
Right.
Getting a similar storyline to that.
One shot doesn't agree with you, it looks like.
No, I'm reading the chat and I'm just disappointed. Tim.
What's the chat say?
Well, all right. Hold on, we'll catch up real quick.
Finish what you're saying.
Yeah, finish your thought on Kamala Khan, and then we'll catch up on the chat.
I think part
Lone
of the
Wolf,
reason
I had some beer today too, so Not as much as I had tequila last time, but go ahead. Sorry.
I think they're changing her powers to away from the inhuman side of things.
Right. They're clearly doing that. I mean, I don't know that I like that the powers come from a bracelet. That's what it seemed to look like in the trailer.
I'm not sure. I'm waiting to see how that plays out. You know?
Right.
I'm not sure how I'm going to like that either.
Are you familiar with the character in the comics?
Yeah, very much so.
Okay.
See, I'm not going to be too judgmental on it because I'm not familiar with the character.
I think that's why I'm kind of into it.
When it comes out, I'll watch it and give it a chance, like I do every other.
Yeah, you guys are gonna have to keep up with it now because every Tuesday we're gonna talk about it. So you're gonna have to watch it.
My thing is this: is that she was created in the comics for a very specific reason. She is the first Muslim superhero. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of representation that comes along with her. There's a lot of that she is. If I remember correctly, I want to say Pakistani.
She's Pakistani. Yep.
If I remember correctly, she's Pakistani. She's Muslim, and she gets these powers and has to join. She winds up being an Inhuman and joins the Young Avengers, and all while still trying to balance being a good Muslim.
Right. And the trailer hit on all those aspects.
Yeah, it's not a bad storyline. He's a very, very popular character, especially with the newer comics and stuff like that. And she was pushed from the beginning. As soon as they hated her, she had a big push, and I think it's going to be. This will be a good, without being over heavy-handed,
right?
I should say.
And don't forget too. So the character has already been confirmed to be a big part of the sequel to Captain Marvel, which is called The Marvels. So it'll be Kamala Khan as Miss Marvel, Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau as whatever they end up calling her character. But
probably
Photon. That's what I think it's going to be. But so whatever. I think for me, I'm almost more interested in this show because it should give us a better idea of what that movie might be about, or at least might touch on.
It should. And the big thing is like, so Kamala Khan was up being a huge Captain Marvel fan.
Right. So there's the easy connection right there.
Marvel fan. That's why she wears the Haji with the lightning bolt on it, because that's she's a fan of Captain Marvel and this, that, and the other thing. Comics at least.
Do you call it a Haji?
I mean, a hijab. I meant
hijab.
I just say it's a hijab.
Haji hijab. It's all right. Real quick, let's catch up on the. See, you say things wrong too. It's not just me. Let's catch up on the chat real quick. First of all, Buttersworth.
Like once in a while.
Buttersworth says that I shouldn't be hosting anymore. My privileges have been suspended since I said Super Nintendo 64 instead of Timtendo. Listen, man, I'll gladly hand over hosting duties after all the effort I put into my background. I'll give it to someone else for a little while. Real quick, ScytheX said it's the CW Green Lantern show, which I don't really disagree. It does have a CW kind of feel. Everyone seems a little extra pretty and whatever, but Marvel hasn't done that yet. So let's see their version of it. Let's give it a shot.
Besides Homecoming was the first high school,
and they nailed it. Homecoming was such a great movie. I thought
nailed it. So I got faith in them that they're going to do the right thing here and put something.
Real quick, Super Timtendo. See, I said it correctly that time. He's speaking on the Batman. We wanted to know his opinion. He said that he felt like a lot of people hated it, that there were definitely things that he didn't like, but there was a lot of things he loved overall. Probably put it towards the top of his Batman lists. Specifically, he loved the Batman aspect of the movie, like being a detective. ScytheX says, "Don't say detective being or Batman Robin."
For once. Thank you, Super Nintendo. I really appreciate you agreeing with me.
You should watch our video from last week, episode 32 of the Theater Room. I'm telling you, you'll get a kick out of some of the arguments we had. He also said he liked the gritty feel of it too. Rampy26 asked if Zack Snyder directed it, which Buttersworth already told him it was Matt Reeves. And then going back to Miss Marvel, ScytheX, I agree with you. It's an MCU show. I'm gonna watch it regardless. If it sucks, it sucks, and I'll happily admit that it's not that good. but I'm definitely gonna. It's a must watch for me. And then Buttersworth just threw out there that it just hit him. Keanu Reeves, he suggests as Thunderbolt Ross in the MCU because he's up there in age. My only problem with that is that we've already seen so much of William Hurt. You know, the older guy. I don't think. Yeah.
I don't think you could recast Thunderbolt Ross. I think you can make somebody else become the Red Hulk.
Agreed, 100%. You could pick another character. And, you know, Martin Freeman is in the MCU. He works for S.H.I.E.L.D. You know, you could easily rewrite some of his stuff in the next Black Panther movie and kind of put him on the path to maybe wanting to take the serum, have it be an accident. Boom, there's your Red Hulk. And you know,
give it to Sam Elliott.
It's an
Let
easy
him
season
be the
to
Red Hulk.
Who?
Sam Elliott.
Now, see, bring Sam Elliott back as a variant of Thunderbolt Ross because he was Ross in the what's his name, Eric Bana Hulk movie. Bring Sam Elliott in as Thunderbolt Ross. Let him just take the role now in the main timeline of MCU.
Sam Elliott, the
that was Sam
Ross
Elliott, yeah,
movie?
With his deep voice,
That
a
movie was
sexy
so
ass
terrible,
voice.
I wiped it from my memory.
But Sam Elliott was in it. And so you could bring him as a variant for Thunderbolt Ross. He could also be a variant in a Ghost Rider movie.
I mean, listen, they could also go the roadie route and just recast him and not even mention it.
So Rampy, he asked us about the new X-Men movie, which we have no idea what they're going to do with that. We did a little bit of a fan casting a couple weeks back. He also said Keanu Reeves is reserved for Darth Revan, which, if you're a Star Wars fan, that's a great choice for Darth Revan, to be perfectly honest. Keanu, ScytheX. See, Ghost Rider, he could be a good choice for also. ScytheX says Keanu would be a good Gambit. I don't know about that. I don't know if he could be a good Gambit because he's got to pull off like a Southern accent. Have you ever heard him do an accent? Besides,
dude.
Besides the Surfer movie. What the hell? I can't think of the name of the movie now.
He did a Southern accent in that Devil movie.
Devil's Advocate. It was horrible.
It
was a horrible Southern accent.
It's not a Southern accent. He needs to do a Cajun accent, which is wholly different.
I agree. Yeah, it's true. Rampy26 says Keanu Reeves the guy who played Gambit in the Wolverine Origins movie was a good choice. That's Taylor Kish. He was an excellent choice. They wrote Gambit in that movie horrendously. Clearly, they didn't know what his powers were supposed to be or his personality or what. He would be a good choice to play the character if they tried to redo it with him in mind, but I don't think so.
I still say Charlie Hunnam.
I think Charlie Hunnam could be a good Gambit for sure. I could see that happening. Last but not least, guys, we're going to pivot now to some video game stuff. I know somebody in the chat asked earlier about the Halo show. You guys have not watched the trailer yet, correct? The new trailer just came out?
Correct.
All right. So I sent it to you in the Facebook Messenger chat. Let me know when you guys are ready. We'll count down and we will play it. We'll do a live reaction for everybody in the chat. Thank you guys again for jumping in. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to all the various socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook. I don't even know. TikTok is a big one also. And every Tuesday we're doing these live podcasts with everyone from the GGEN if we can. So make sure you keep an eye out around 8:30 every Tuesday. You guys ready?
Hey.
All right.
My whole life.
Ready? 3, 2, 1.
On me.
So this is trailer 2 for the Halo show, which is coming out this month, March 24th.
There's something out.
Damn, I'm gonna have to get Paramount.
Hey, I got it, man. I'll give you my login stuff.
Oh, love you.
We don't make people pay for stuff here.
It's like
I can't give it to everybody. Sorry, chat.
opening your eyes.
You guys don't want me to be the host anyway, so why would I reward you?
I've been living in the dark.
I mean, so far everything I've seen about this show, like the look of the show is just almost perfect, except for Cortana maybe.
Rage is all I have left. The Covenant will not stop.
Was that our first real look at the energy sword?
Everything.
I think so, yeah.
What's the point in saving humanity if we're gonna give up our own?
I'm interested in finding a way to be less reliant on Dr. Halsey moving forward.
The truth could bring us all down.
I mean, look at that armor, man.
There is something within us. Something sacred. Something worth protecting. on me.
That's a phenomenal shot right here. Diving out of the plane like
All we
that.
have now. It's just us. Just us.
All right, what'd you guys think?
It's going to be phenomenal.
It looks really, really, really good. I feel like
They did so well.
It's not a bait and switch.
I hope so. I hope so too. They've nailed the look. In the quick shot of the energy sword, I feel like maybe that looked a little cartoonish, but other than that, I mean, it looks unbelievable.
The first shot of the ship coming over those mountains looked very like VCG.
Right.
I mean, listen, it's going to be a show on Paramount Plus. I don't know what their budget was, but like I'm going to expect. I can go with a little bit of that as long as the story's strong and the show is strong. You could deal with a little bit of like happier CG.
Rampy26 says any show Paramount does kills it. So I got some expectations that need to be met here, which that's kind of high praise for Paramount.
My thing is that hoping that they're not showing us these fan service trailers, we wind up getting like some sort of weird political like dissertation show on like politics of space at this point. Like,
well, so
basically, don't want the Phantom Menace.
I said this. I said this on Facebook. I forget who I was talking with, but I'm not a giant fan of Halo. I played the multiplayer a lot on Halo 1 and 2. Although I never really played the single player, I never really got into it. I did some multiplayer, and then when I switched to and stuck with Sony, I obviously didn't play it. So I feel like it seems like the show was made for me. The iconic imagery is there. The suit looks good. The weapons look good. The Covenant looks good. You can see the flood in the trailer. Everything looks great. But the story looks like it deviates a lot from the game, as far as I know. And for someone like me who's not very familiar with the story, that's okay. But I feel like there's going to be a lot of Halo purists out there who do not like Master Chief taking his helmet off, for example.
Did he take his helmet off?
Not in the trailer, but I know for a fact that he's going to be. There's like a lot of at least the first season is going to be kind of his childhood, him being recruited into the army or to the military, and like his training and stuff. So there's going to be a lot with him, no helmet, no armor.
Look, if it's prior to him being Master Chief, like him as a fucking teen and shit, I'm good with it.
Mm.
But once he's Chief, that helmet shouldn't come off. You shouldn't see his face.
So, and that's my thing. My understanding is you shouldn't. Go ahead, sorry.
We talked about this already, where the guy that they got to play him, he's like not a super well known actor, but he's been in other things.
Right, he's got a what's the word? Like a recognizable face.
Yeah. So I don't know. See, I'm very worried about this show because it looks like this could go one of two ways. This could either be an amazing show, lots of action, Master Chief doing Master Chief shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, or it's Book of Boba Fett, where we get 6 episodes of like backstory and politics until we get to anything even substantial. Or like, I don't want to happen is get 6 episodes of them starting the Master Chief program,
right?
7 episodes of them starting the Master Chief program, and the Covenant never even like tax until the episode 8, 9.
Right.
Do we know how many episodes the first season is going to be?
I want to say 8, but I don't think I might not be accurate on that. I don't think I've ever actually Googled it. I want to say I read that somewhere. 8 episodes at about 40 minutes, from what I understand each.
All right. Give me the first two. The first 2 episodes is introducing all that shit, and then go into current storyline. Well, current storyline then.
I don't even want episodes of that.
See, what concerns me, you make a good point, Wade, or Carmine, or Zuplex, Breaker of Chains and Killer of Dragons.
You are.
Yeah. No, you make a good point, though, that like the Book of Boba Fett trailer looked unbelievable. It looked like it was an action-packed show, like it was going to give us a lot of Boba Fett, and then you see what we got, and it It was very, very slow and not a lot of what we thought we were going to get. So it is possible that everything we're seeing in the trailer is the good scenes from the game, and all the stuff that's made specifically for the show is going to be garbage. However, I will say that the trailers look so good, and it looks like it has a good chance of breaking the curse of the video game to screen adaptation. That that I'm kind of all in. I'll watch the whole thing at this point just to kind of show that it's worth it.
We all want it to be good.
Oh, 100%.
Like we all want it to be good. But it's giving me. I'm trying to remember the Extraction. What's the name of that show that got moved to like Amazon Prime?
I don't know. I don't know what show.
Space show. Remember it now.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about there.
It's giving me a lot of those vibes, that it's like that type of show that's dealing with a lot of politics.
Which is fine. I mean, they got to fill out a show, right? I mean, they can't just the whole show can't be about Master Chief running around killing things. So they got to give us something to care about.
Yeah, but why can't it be though?
Because then you won't care.
I'd rather see a bunch of missions that Master Chief's on. Like, I don't want any backstory. I don't need him to be on a planet. Show me a bunch of Space Marines on like a 9-episode arc of a mission, flashbacks thrown in every now and then.
I mean, I'd be okay with that. I'd be into it, to be honest. I'd be into it, to be honest.
I mean, it can go. I'd be good with it either way. I go with that, or you give me 1, maybe 2 episodes of a little backstory for these people who don't know shit about Halo.
Right. That's what I would prefer. Give me the first 2 episodes. It could be all backstory if you want, slower, kind of a slow burn kind of thing. But I kind of agree. It's like once you hit the ground running with the action, once Master Chief dives out of that plane that we saw in the trailer, when he lands, the rest of the season should just be him going to town on Covenant, and at some point realizing, oh wait, there's this new enemy called the Flood, and it's even worse than the Covenant, and then we got to see him survive, you know. But they have the a group of the I think is it the ODST, like his group. You know, it's not just him. They have a few other soldiers in there with armor also. So from what I understand, those soldiers are going to get a lot of screen time to kind of flesh out their backstories, so they can not focus so much on Master Chief's backstory. You know, so who knows? I mean, there's a lot of information flying out there, so we'll wait and see. It looks good enough that I'm ready, I'm sold already, and I'm going to watch the whole thing.
I mean, if anything, they need to introduce those towards the end of the season,
right?
Because they're a group that hunts down Chief, and that
could be your season 2 right there.
Yeah, you could go into a second season with that.
Absolutely.
The show I was thinking about is called The Expanse.
Oh, it does actually have a Expanse.
It's giving me a
kind
lot
of feel
of
to it.
a lot of those type of vibes. Kind of looks like that. And that show is very slow. It's a lot of people sitting around compounds in space talking about shit.
See, now I'm okay though with, you know, if we have say a couple of episodes of slowness, but then like an episode where it's just full action and the action is just like hands down phenomenal, like really well done.
Yeah,
I'd be okay with that kind of pacing. You know, a couple episodes of setup and then 1 full episode of payoff. But if it's like a couple episodes of setup, 5 minutes of action, then more setup, couple more episodes, 5 minutes of action, then you're gonna lose me very quick. Then I'm gonna be bored.
I think for part of so it's 9 episodes. I looked it up. It's gonna be 9 episodes. Right? With the amount of money they have to spend on something like this, I have a funny feeling we're getting at least 6 episodes of just like, this is going to be the Master Chief program. We need to train the Master Chiefs to be the Master Chief, and who's going to be the Master Chief, and I think we're going to get like 6 episodes of that, and then 3 episodes of them fighting the Horde. You know, and I don't know what the budget was for the show, but a show that needs this amount of money behind it,
right?
We're going to have to cut. They can't give us 8 episodes of action.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. They're gonna have to. I mean, they can either break up the action for 5 minutes at a time, or they can, like you said, 6 episodes of dialogue, and then one or 2 episodes of full blown action.
I figure that I'm thinking the first episode is gonna have some sort of action in it, people hooked.
Right.
And episode 2, 3, 4, and 5, looking at them figuring out how they're gonna fight back on the Horde with the plan. Master Chief's backstory about how when he was a kid, Watts killed his mom. Who knows? Yeah.
And then, see, I feel like in my time playing the game, a big draw for Master Chief was that like legend of you see this tall dude on this badass armor walking by. You know that he's been through some shit, that he's survived a lot of shit, but you don't know. Is he a cool dude? Is he a human? Mm-hmm. You have no idea what he is behind the mask. So I feel like taking away that mystery, which is they're clearly going to do. It's like
same exact thing that Boba Fett gave you when you first saw him in the movies when you were a kid.
Right.
And now they completely ruined that character by giving him so much backstory.
Yeah, I know. I agree. ScytheX said it's Microsoft's baby, and they're going to pump Paramount with cash, I would imagine, which is true. Rampy26 said Halo should still be owned by Bungie, so I can play it on PlayStation. Yeah, well, don't worry, Rampy. At some point, Sony's just going to buy out Microsoft.
Didn't get Halo, though.
Buttersworth says Halo will start slow. By the 4th or 5th episode is when the action will pick up, which I feel like the first episode's got to come out running. You got to come out swinging. Just show us what you can do, and then maybe episodes 2 through 5 or 6 are super slow with a little bit of trickling of action here and there. And then, like you said,
you have an outpost. The Horde attacks the outpost. Master Chief comes in, saves the day.
Right.
You can go. You show something towards the end of the season in the first episode, and then you go into how you led up to that.
That I think would be perfect, honestly.
Finished off your season with the end of that episode.
Rampy26 asked, "Does anyone know where in the Halo timeline the show would take place?" And I do have an answer for that. I saw it today. Actually, they did an interview with one of the producers. This show has nothing to do with the games. It's a completely separate thing. There is no shared timeline. The show is essentially just a new story, or a retelling, I guess, a reimagining, if you will, of Halo on screen. So that's one of the reasons why Cortana looks different. That's one of the reasons why they're taking Master Chief's helmet off. They thought of it as this isn't a continuation or an origin. This is just its own thing. And they were very clear in the interview that they didn't want people to mesh them together. Well, I think when I read that today, I thought to myself, fuck. That's gonna, that might ruin it a little bit, But again, the trailer really does sell the game.
The first trailer dropped, all the fanboys got upset that Cortana wasn't blue or yellow or whatever color she's supposed to be, and lost their minds. And they were like, how could you do that? It's Cortana and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And they're like, listen, it's not going to be like the video game. We're just making Halo realistic. And
they had to come up with like an answer, right?
Storyline. Yeah. This way now it gives them an out later on when they completely screw this up.
Right.
That's the fear. It wasn't going to be like the video game.
That's the fear, and specifically they asked about Cortana and why she didn't have more of a circuitry kind of look to her like she does in the games. And this wasn't a producer of the show. This was actually one of the creators of one of the programmers, I think, of one of the games. Their response was that for something like a TV show, you want, how do they word it? It was like you want something tangible that other actors can act off of. So they felt it was better to go with the hologram kind of look and have an actress standing there playing the character versus in the game where it's just on his wrist or in his hand and it's just the construct.
That makes sense.
It could work. It also could be shitty. And we're just not going to know until March 24th, sorry. So
24th it comes out?
Yeah, so it's very soon.
We also have Moon Knight at the end of this month,
which I feel like we barely talked about that. So you know what? Next week's topic, we got to talk Moon Knight, what we expect, what we want from the show.
That comes out March 30th.
Yeah, that's very soon. So Moon Knight is going to be, I'm definitely going to be having my reaction videos for that as well. Rampy26 says, by the looks of it, it was going with the game's looks, like in the middle of the insurrections and the start of the war with the Covenant, which it does look like that, and I think they're adapting probably that kind of element from the games. ScytheX says, I have zero knowledge of the stories. I only played multiplayer, so ScytheX and I are in the same boat with that. I would be upset as a fan if they didn't use the source material, and ScytheX or Buttersworth said that he had a feeling that they're going to reintroduce Halo to a new generation, which I think is what they want to do. They're basically saying, for anyone who doesn't play the games, anyone who doesn't have an Xbox, here's a version of Halo you can actually get into. So.
Steve seems like he has thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Man on that, Steve.
That the whole you saying that it's a whole offset, like of not the game, kind of irritates the shit out of me.
Right. But
I'm
see, now,
hoping that it's
go ahead, sorry.
fucking fodder, but it's bullshit. Because it looks like they're playing into some of the story that, we played in the multiplayer.
But now, do you think, though, so my thing is are you upset about that because we're so used to the MCU building out this giant shared universe that we just instinctively now want everything to be a shared universe? Or is it very specifically because it's Halo, because the games are so good, why doesn't it tie into it?
Because the storyline that the game set up already is phenomenal.
Right.
And if they would have played off that, it would be unbeatable as far as a game adaptation.
Right.
Like all the way through to where Cortana loses her shit, and even in the new one.
And I'm sure they'll borrow elements of that, But Walking Dead's a great example of when you start to really just borrow from the source material instead of stick to the source material, you mess up the whole thing. And that's the big fear, I guess, with Halo. So I do agree with ScytheX, though. I mean, this is Microsoft's flagship series. It looks like one of the higher budget video game to screen adaptations we're getting. And there's a lot riding on this. I mean, I feel like if it really sucks, it could derail video game shows and movies that are coming out going forward. And if it does really well, it could really wake Hollywood up to there's a lot of money to be made here. Let's really start pouring some time and effort into this. So.
Well, look, the track record on video game adaptations really isn't great.
Obviously, yeah. That's an understatement. Sonic was good. So was Mortal Kombat, I guess.
Phenomenal.
It was good for a kid's movie,
Well, yeah, it's a kid's game.
But I mean, that's the only way you're going to make that. You make it a kid's movie. It's fun. Everybody has a good time. Blah blah blah.
But more, you know what? To your point, Mortal Kombat's a perfect example. The movie was good, but completely deviated from the source material. And as good as it was, as a Mortal Kombat, like giant Mortal Kombat fan, I was very, very disappointed with a lot of the choices they made. It's so much so that it makes me kind of question how excited I am for the sequel.
I mean, and that's also the part of the movie that everybody hated the most.
Right.
Is that they brought in this weirdo Cole guy that no one's ever heard of, and you made him your main character. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't understand why they can't just adapt these games to a movie, because there's so many good storylines and so many different video games. We talked about it a few podcasts ago where we were talking about what video games we want to see adapted into the movies and stuff like that. So much that they could do with all this stuff, but it seems like every time they try, just screw it up.
Yeah. Well, because there's this idea that we don't want to see the same story or plot points in the games redone on screen. They have, like, Hollywood has this in their head where, using Resident Evil as an example, it's like they don't want us to see people going through a mansion solving these crazy puzzles to get through it, when that's all we want to see. Give us that. Why do you keep coming up with these new things? Give us the Tyrant, the same one we've seen in the game. Just give us him. Why do we have to have a new version? Same thing with Mortal Kombat. We need to have the audience character that doesn't know what's going on, just like the audience doesn't. We all know what the fuck's going on. Stop trying to answer it for us, But this is why also they don't have, when they have fans working on it, real fans working on it, you can tell. And it seems like with Halo they do have real fans, so I kind of have faith that it'll actually be okay.
But both of these trailers I've seen for this show so far hasn't really made me be like super excited to go watch this show.
See, now that I would say the opposite. They have me pumped to watch the show.
It's what it is. It's just something about it where I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna watch it because I want to see what they do with it. It doesn't give me that feeling of like, oh, they nailed this.
Right.
Yeah, they're gonna get this right. You know what I'm saying?
It's either gonna piss me off or I'm gonna be absolutely in love with it. It's the only two.
I'm leaning towards piss you off, Steve, because it seems like a lot pisses you off, buddy.
Well, we'll find out on March 21st. All right, guys. Yeah. All right, that's a good episode, good podcast. For anyone who jumped into the chat late, we toasted to Scott Hall and to William Hurt. those are presences that we're definitely gonna miss for the time being, and we'll see how how William Hurt affects the MCU going forward. Thanks for jumping into the chat. Thank you guys for taking an hour and almost an hour and a half with me and bullshitting some more. Like I said before, we'll be coming back every Tuesday at 8:30. We sign on. It's generally us three. ScytheX also can jump on when he's around. The captain or maybe Big Earn. We're gonna have to do. Buttersworth mentioned doing a poll on the GGEN group that will go up tomorrow. We're gonna vote and we're gonna make the captain officially change his name to Big Earn.
Why Big Earn?
Because as he gets older on Facebook, someone who was it? I think it was Buttersworth put up on Facebook that as John gets older, he's acting more and more like bigger Ernie McCracken from the Kingpin. So
you still owe us a dress and a song.
Oh God, I got to do that still too. I forgot about that. I mean, my plate's full. So maybe someone will take over hosting duties. Super Tim Tendo, so that's why I can sing "I Feel Pretty" on camera for hitting 500 members on GGEN. Again, guys, if you haven't, like and subscribe. The socials have been kind of scrolling along the bottom here. And we'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys so much for the chat. Thank you for jumping in when you did. And have a good night, boys.
Later.
Later.